Hello and welcome to Shay Reads Something Because Games Hate Her today. I decided to read a few creepypastas from the Creepypasta Wiki, and this is probably going to go horribly. I grabbed a random one and I skimmed through to make sure there was nothing like terribly vulgar, because I'm not going to read anything vulgar for this. So yeah, here's the first one. It's called And More. Stupid thing. Okay. And More. Name's Adam Winchester. I'm 28 years old and I'll never forget these past 3 days. It started out what seemed like a normal day, turned to be a gruesome night, and following 2 days. Here is my story. I recently heard of a new movie called Fist of the North Star, and heard great things about it, so I was looking for any copies of it in the stores, but my search came to no avail. So I asked a friend where I can find it, and he said that there was this one store that sold these types of movies and told me the address of it. So I went to the store the following day, and it looked okay, aside from all the street art on the sides of the store calling it a fraud. I went ahead and entered the store, and it seemed to be in top condition aside from the noticeable musty smell emitting when I entered the store. I approached the clerk at the counter, and he greeted me with a soft smile and said, "Hello, how can I help you?" I told him what I was looking for, and he went to a room where I think it's the inventory, and came back later with a DVD inside a DVD cover of what seemed to be the cover of what seemed to be what the cover of the movie is. I'm sorry, but what? I luckily had a working DVD in my home. I gave him my thanks and went home to watch the movie. When I arrived home, I made popcorn and popped the DVD in the DVD slot of the player and sat on the couch with my popcorn and with the remote and began to wait to load. It took quite a while, and then when it loaded, it showed the main character and 3 options: Start Movie, Scene Selection, and lastly, And More. I selected Start Movie, and the movie started, and nothing was wrong throughout the movie aside from the occasional frame skipping, which I thought it was scratches on the CDs, and the movie ended with no credits, which was weird, but whatever. After I saw the movie, I was amazed on how good it was, but the last section was intriguing me, so I selected it. It showed a real-life picture of what I think is the main character and a part of the movie, and the text below said, "Real-life creation of a scene of the movie." So I selected it and my DVD player shut off. I checked the wires and it's not unplugged. I thought it was weird, so I thought I could shrug it off and went to take a quick nap. I got up and found myself going to the bathroom, though I have no memory of waking up. I opened the door and went to urinate. When I was washing my hand, the water turned into blood and I drew back my hands in horror. I went to leave the bathroom, but I was greeted by the main character of the movie, and he had black eye sockets, blood oozing from his mouth, and a vague smile. He told me 2 words: "And more," before punching me in the face, and my face instantly explodes. The main character had fists that could shatter and explode the skull along with the head. I finally regained vision and saw myself with a knife in hand, and my arms bleeding. Cleaned my arms with the knife, and when I cleaned the wounds, the knife trails on my arms said, "And more." I went insane that day, and the following days I was barely social, and I could still remember that dream, and the marks on my arms are still there to this day. That was highly enlightening, wasn't it? Alright, this one looks good. Alright. The Banzai Pipeline. In this story, some names of the incident will remain anonymous. Only certain traces of evidence, dates, and occurrences will remain as they were. I'm sure some of you are familiar with the water park attraction called Waterworld, California. Before the park was named after the state it was in, it was originally known as Waterworld USA Concord. It was Concord's first main attraction for decades, and had been providing family fun for almost everyone. People from all across the USA would come here to cool off during the summer. During winter, however, it would be closed down until next spring, When it reopened, the park would always bring in a new attraction, which in turn would attract thousands of people. On June 2, 1997, a group of high school students from Napa attempted to break a world record from the most riders on a slide. The slide which they would ride on was called the Banzai Pipeline and stood 6 stories tall, right below the even bigger slide called the Cliffhanger. About 33 students marched up the wooden tower, pushing and shoving through the tiny vessel, ignoring every liability and destruction made by the lifeguard on duty. One by one they all slid down the closed pipe, creating a big plug trapping the students, but never made it all the way. Halfway down the slide burst open from the bottom, making a horrifying sound of breaking metal and fiberglass. It plummeted the 33 students, who were 40 feet off the ground, onto the concrete floor at full impact, spilling blood all over the water and concrete. All of the students got broken bones and several injuries except for one student, a 17-year-old girl who was the last to go on the Banzai Pipeline. As she was sliding down the tube right when it was breaking, she fell and hit the concrete head first. She died on the way to the hospital. After that incident, the area near the pipeline was covered in blood of the 33 students that fell. That's when people began questioning, are water slides safe? From there on, Waterworld USA Concord took a turn for the worst. Sales went down and something had to be done. But after another season, things softened down for the park. People began to worry less and take more precautions, and by that time, so did the park, because they put up more descriptive signs and added more vigilance to the park. The park got off good, besides having to change companies 3 times and their name along with it. May 2011 was the month I applied at Waterworld, California. It was a pretty good job. The monthly pay I got was all right, but there was too much work. Everyone that works there doesn't really get along too well at times. It always has to be someone not liking someone just because they're jerks. By mid-season, mostly around June to July, my coworkers and I would start to see and notice some strange things. Since me and my friends are the only ones that closed the park, we would always be told about the incident, knowing that we walked near the same slide that the girl had died on. The pipeline was the same as it was before the incident, although rebuilt and renamed. It was on a regular scheduled weekday when I noticed the first strange thing. After a busy day, the evening fell with a strong wind. I was helping a coworker with a trash run in the Loo Cove. We emptied 6 trash bins, each filled to the brim with garbage, put new bags in, and headed to the dumpster. There was a lot of wind coming in from all directions except in the cove. Since there were 4 pavilions, most of the wind that comes in doesn't go through as much. The garbage cans nearby were standing straight and stationary, even with the slight wind pushing to get them. That came out really well. By the time we walked back from the dumpsters, we passed by the loo, only to see the 4 tins tipped over and the rest still stationary. I looked at my friend in some disbelief, since the only people working during that time in the area was us and no one else. We checked the kitchen and it was empty. The wind around that whole area was going in every other direction, different from the one outside of the park. We checked with our other co-workers, but they were busy with other duties as well. A couple days later, we started noticing even stranger things. I was by the tube rentals on our lunch break with my co-workers when we heard a distant scream from a teenage girl. It wasn't a joyous or horrified scream, but a painful scream. A scream so painful that it gives me chills up my spine. I just couldn't move or say anything at all. We all heard it and went back to work scared. Little by little, things began to occur. The showers would turn on randomly and stay on for long periods of time, even when we were around. We would feel a strange presence among every corner, ride, or secluded spot we would go through. These things had to happen for some reason. One day when I was heading out for my shift, I managed to speak to one of the managers, explaining what was going on. He told me it was just the spirit of the girl who had died wandering around the park by herself. She was going around the park screaming in pain, knocking on walls and windows, turning on faucets and showers, and even knocking things over. He even said that some doors opened on their own, and that it was during the night when she usually does all those things. Could it be that her restless spirit still roams the park because of us? Or could it be something else? All I know is that she comes back only during the month of June and mid-July around closing time. The night shift security and other people that have been in the park during the nighttime also claimed of hearing painful screams from far away and other odd occurrences throughout the park. The very same painful screams and occurrences still haunt the park to this very day. Since the park has a lot of security, I wouldn't recommend staying around after closing times. But if you do, stay alert and go at your own will. That was so scary, man. I'm shaking in my boots. So very scary. I can't even handle the scary. Oh my, so scary. But yeah, that's it. That's all I have to offer for this.